I am absolutely delighted to have Mari Koppanen here. She agreed to join us because her work is just so incredibly cool. I think now the speaker stage is on to her. As a bit of a background, Mari is a Finnish designer, but currently working a PhD in artistic research at the Oslo National Academy of the Arts. With a background in fashion and furniture design, she is committed to embedding ethical, environmental, and social issues into her work. Her work has spanned a variety of media, including furniture, textiles, pottery, and biomaterials that have pushed the boundaries of contemporary design. Most relevantly for here, a lot of the work has involved fungal materials, be it polypores or kombucha scobies, which I believe they can touch, by the way, right? Yeah, so that's, I mean, when do you ever get to touch art? So please touch. I'm not going to talk too much, so I think I'm just going to turn the stage over to her and to inform us and inspire us about all of your work.
Thank you so much. Should I put my microphone here? I'm very honored to be here. And this presentation focuses on my work with fungi and fungi-related materials from a designer's perspective. I will shortly talk about my background and of my main project, which is also my doctoral project. And we will watch the short documentary film in the middle of the presentation, and then I will also talk a bit more about the Kobe material exploration. Is the sound okay, or?
For me, but I just asked the people on the
Yeah. Okay. So my educational background is in furniture design, and I also have a vocational degree in design. I work at the intersection of art, design, and also science, seeking for inspiration from those three worlds. I'm a very curious person, and I think through my hands, and I love to also create with my hands. So my language is creation. Artistic research is much more practice and art-based compared to scientific research. And it differs from purely scientific research in many ways. The methodology in my artistic research involves a great amount of experimentation, creative exploration, and conceptual investigation. So I use a range of media and techniques to communicate my findings and my so-called artistic results. Throughout the years, I've been fascinated about fungi, the unknown, unseen, yet so important. Fungi are the quiet observers. They are present all of the time, working quietly in our bodies, soils, food, and medicines. Yet we are quite unaware of their presence. They operate various connections in the ecosystem, sometimes taking the role as helpers and sometimes as parasites. For centuries, mushrooms have been utilized by humans for their spiritual, medicinal, and nutritional properties, thus posing a significant role in the human history. The human body and skin contain different types of fungi and bacteria, connecting us to the fungal world in a very concrete way. Additionally, fungi are essential within our ecosystem, actively contributing to decomposing and recycling organic materials. I'm originally from central Finland and grown up in a family with the tradition of picking and eating mushrooms. And as a child, I was very fascinated about mushroom books, and I think that was my first connection with mushrooms. This is one of my first artistic experimentations, which was simply trying to grow mushrooms by myself. This is a big oyster mushroom, which I grew in my collective apartment in 2017. Getting lots of feedback from my roommates that this is not okay. When they saw the small mushrooms coming from the this abstraction, they were also amazed at how can you grow this inside. Back in 2017, there were fewer references to fungi in the field of design, I would say, but now more and more during the recent years, designers and startups have become interested in discovering the possibilities of fungi in art and design. I've been especially interested in exploring the connection between human and fungus, and maybe because we are closely related to fungi, but not before late 60s that fungi became or was categorized as an old group from plants. Fungus is much more than just the visible. It's the root of all growth, and it enables our living here on Earth. It's our oldest ancestor, and it's much smarter than we think. So my main medium later became Polypores, and this is a picture of one of my most meaningful projects, which was my master's project we grew together. And you can see also the materials on the table. You can touch them, you can smell them and feel them, and I would love to hear how they feel and what do you think about them. So we grew together is a project that worked as a basis for my PhD project and is still ongoing. It's a culturally sensitive material study about Fomes fomentarius or tinder mushroom, and it investigated the tradition of crafting with amadou, which is the material derived from this mushroom. So I'm especially interested in Fomes fomentarius, as inside the fruiting body there's a flexible layer that can be turned into this leather-like material. The material is processed manually from the mushroom, so basically you peel the mushroom and then you remove the pore layer, and then you're left with this one flexible layer between the cuticle and pore tubes. And then there are certain techniques you have to proceed to get the material out. And this is a very common polypore growing all over Europe, in North America and some parts of Asia. Also, in Northern Europe, the species can be found almost in every birch forest. Here, maybe as a forest owner, it's not seen as a welcomed guest, but as a parasite. Here you can see better where the trauma layer, so the amadou layer, is located inside the mushroom. So it's in between the mycelium pore, which is the heart of the mushroom, and then the hard white cover is called cuticle, and the pore tubes underneath. So it's in between those two. You will see a bit later on the video how it's processed out or processed into. Amadou is really a material of its own. It has naturally different great qualities. It is absorbent, antiseptic, isolating, renewable, and biodegradable. It's been used for thousands of years for different purposes, such as for fire making and wound healing. It is said that the first people emigrated in northern parts of Europe to survive because they could carry fire inside this mushroom and then walk more and more north. Tinder fungus was also once a valuable resource that was not only picked and gathered, but also cultivated with great success. During the 1800s, the major manufacturers of tinder fungus were located in German cities such as Frankfurt, Strasbourg, and Ulm. Ulm had the most well-known tinder factories, which delivered tinder fungus to large parts of Europe. And this is a headpiece and a jacket from Stockholm, Livrustkammarens collection. And they have really little information on what this says, so they didn't quite know from where it was originated. In different parts of Europe, amadou smoke has been used to seduce bees and small patches of amadou to dry insects for fly fishing. In Sami culture, amadou was used for folk healing and moxing. It was believed to cure pain. So you would basically burn a piece of amadou on the skin and then massage the healing area with the ashes of this material. This was also widely used by dentists before medical cotton after tooth extraction. So they would place they would put a little bit of amadou on the place where they extracted the tooth to disinfect and also stop bleeding, to stop the bleeding of the wound. In Corund, in Transylvania, in Romania, there are still a few families that actively practice a handicraft tradition related to this material. This knowledge is transferred from mouth to mouth and has been passed from one generation to another throughout the years. But this craft is in a danger of disappearing, as there are only very few active families who still practice the craft. And the age of these workers is around 70 or 80. This is Mr. Imre. He's one of the oldest artisans in the village. And he has worked with amadou tradition whole of his life. The mushrooms are harvested and the men go to these mushroom trips for a few nights, and then they return with their treasures. And back in the days, it was always the women who made the decoration part, but now it's also the men, because there are simply not enough makers in the village. This is one of my earlier works with amadou. This is a wearable three-piece collection that highlights the natural qualities of the material. And the inspiration came from a specific situation inside the amadou folklore, which was this mushroom picking. So I wanted to use the same techniques as they use in the village, such as hand sewing, form pressing, and pottery, to work in a culturally sensitive way, respecting the people who work with this material. And so this was the first time I traveled to Romania to learn the craft and work with the artisans. And this was directed to my so-called customer, which was a female, because women are never invited to the mushroom hunt. So I wanted to especially invite the lady also to join the mushroom trip to the mountains. I still work in a close collaboration with this village, after the first time I've been to Corund also last October, and these trips have had a significant impact on both on the practical side of my work, but also me as a designer and my personal growth as a designer. Moreover, I have had the opportunity to observe how local artisans in the village use this material and how their traditional handicrafts are and how they prepare them, which has also given me a broader perspective on the impact of this material and this project beyond practical implications. The traditional amadou designs have stayed the same the past 200-300 years. And the two main products are small purses and amadou hats. So last October, we filmed this little documentary film that you will soon see, which is the first screening, and it's not fully in detail polished yet, but it will be released finally this autumn. So we focused on Mr. Imre and filmed him doing all the stages of amadou processing, as well as interviewing him and to share his experiences after a long career with this material. We had this really small filming crew, which happens to be my sister and my best friend, who both work with film. So this was the world's smallest production. But I love using storytelling as a powerful tool in my works and enabling a personal narrative to become a utility of communication. The harvesting is sort of the start of the ritual. It's quite atmospheric to experience this beech forest, which is very different from the forests that I grew up with. So you start the trip very early before the sunrise, and you started with Polypores, so you take the first drink already before you go to the mushroom pit. This is just Imre's hands processing the material. And it's not only the beauty within this material that attracts me, but also its growing environment and the natural patterns it creates. and the repetition of growth. If you have seen these mushrooms, they have multiple layers usually. So it's always creating a new layer each spring and autumn. And every time you harvest a mushroom, it will grow a new surface of the fruited body within a few weeks. And even though you might find a tree with 20 mushrooms, you should not pick them all. You should only take a few from the tree. And this is something the harvesters also respect, and the forest is their holy place. And now we would watch the film.
Fete jag mig själv. Fete fällers täten vill läsa att det blir mer kolo kutsinaa. Kesän vuonna kolo. Megvan csinaa.
So, thank you for watching the documentary. This is the cultural and social documentation or cultural and social part of the documentation of my project. My project is also very hands-on oriented when it becomes to the practical implementation. I do experimentation on this material by studying its qualities and transforming and manipulating it into different textures and new materials, also mixing it with new fibers and trying to understand how it behaves and what qualities it has. Fungi-based work demands extensive amount of trial and error. Also, I'm from a background with zero experience in laboratory work, so for me it's very demanding, also trying to understand the biological or chemical qualities of the materials I work with. And also, I'm not from the film industry, but I really enjoy taking these different hats and working with different professionals and also contributing myself into the different areas of the research. And this is exactly how fungi operates in our society, taking different roles and forms. And I feel that my calling and my freedom is to illustrate it in various ways and places. This is one very practical tryout where I used this material in my furniture. I was upholstering the legs of the furniture with this, and the whole idea was because usually when you pick the mushroom you have to check underneath the cap to recognize which mushroom it is. So that's why it's used only in the feed. This is also inspired by traditional bags, and I wanted to use the symbolism of the forest and use wood and amadou together, and especially birch wood, because here in the Nordics the mushroom usually grows in birch trees. By observing the material and the mushroom from 3 viewpoints, I hope to allow my projects to grow into more 3-dimensional conversation. And these entry points are all supported by my artistic creations and practice. So I'm just moving on to the sensorial material part of my research because I'm very interested in the sensorial qualities of this material. I started a collaboration with psychologists just recently to understand why this material appeals to people. I've seen you also going there and seeing and touching the material, and the first reaction is usually that, oh, this is so soft. This is so light. Oh, how can it feel like an animal? So it's accepted in a totally different way than other fungal materials maybe that I have worked with. It's almost like a pet or animal. People share their experiences at the exhibitions, almost petting it like a fur, telling me what it resembles to them. So it has really tactile, soothing sensation upon touch. And the feeling of touching the material for the first time is hard to describe. It offers a surprise moment and instantaneous sense of attachment. And through my observations as an exhibiting designer, people often experience amadou as grounding and calming material. They for some reason usually place it close to the breast or face. And this is a very primitive reaction that people often do when they touch the material for the first time. So these interactions offer me information, but also has evoked my curiosity. Why does amadou appeal to us? My interest lies in understanding the behavioral aspects of amadou and whether its primal animalistic characteristics are what cause us to feel connected to it. Could amadou offer us a first-hand experience and a bridge between the human and fungal world, actually? This is also part of the process of reducing the stigma around fungi, because in Finland, actually, people are really accepting, but in some countries, mucophobia is a thing, and some people react to with very strong feelings. But amadou is quite easy to approach. Then I will shortly talk about the other material, which is the SCOBY. You may know this material from brewing kombucha. This is from last year from an exhibition called A Baby, a Beast, which was exhibited at the also National Academy of the Arts. SCOBY is often called as mother when you start the brewing because it gives birth to a new SCOBY, and then the new SCOBY is referred to as a baby. But I actually think it's quite a beast also. This is a 1.6 meter SCOBY I grew at the university and almost got kicked out from the laboratory. It was growing in a dinosaur pool. And it usually makes a bit smell when it grows. It's not a bad smell, it's more like acidy. You don't agree. So we're so used to looking at the microorganisms and the bacteria through microscope, but I wanted to make something really tactile and visibly. And I'm under the scope because there was simply nobody who wanted to be in the picture. So as a designer coming from a very handicraft and design oriented background, it has been quite groundbreaking for me to start growing my own materials, and it actually opened me up for approaching my practice in very much more experimental way than just product or human focused perspective. Materiality and materials are much more than just their physical appearances. There are always cultural, biological, political, social aspects connected to them. They are driven by associations, memories, stories, and histories. The work with fungi-based materials, I hope to be able to understand how they grow and how they work and connect, and how we humans are connected to them. I use very traditional handicraft techniques also, such as knitting and weaving to test out the performance qualities of this material. These are some explorations with the material in a more product-oriented way, and the colors, the dyes come from lichen and plants. So fungi not only offers as a material resource, but also pigments. Working with lichen is a bit controversial because lichen is so complex organism, and you have to be very mindful when collecting the lichens. My work area or the process sometimes reminds more of an autopsy than anything else. And I really wanted to not to take this human egg, which I named it further because it reminds of something scary, maybe scary and disgusting. But actually, Scoby is a really great medium to work with because you can grow it quite easily, and then you get material to work with and experiment with quite in a simple way. We maybe easily experience, or maybe you don't experience, or us, we don't experience fungus as unappealing or scary, even though it should maybe be the most natural thing for us because we're so connected to it in so many ways. Merlin Sheldrake is a biologist and science philosopher, and he beautifully describes this connectedness between human and fungus. So whenever we cultivate a plant or eat a plant, we enter a relationship with fungi without maybe even understanding that. Yes, I'm hoping to be able to work in a sensitive and respectful way in between human and fungus as a messenger or translator. I will never have the ability to ask fungus how it would like to be presented, but I hope our ideas align somehow. But yes, I made this little diagram where fungi is in the center, and it puts its branches to the different sublayers. I think I cannot talk about these materials without talking about the history, and the history connects to the culture and community. And the culture allows me and us to experience the connectiveness with these materials. Through my translation and demonstration, I hope to be able to communicate it further. Thank you.